We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
What's up, ladies and germ balls? It is not January 11th. However, I am covering the material that was supposed to come out of my mouth on January 11th. I'm going to cover this really quickly, and then I'm going to tell you why I haven't been in the studio for a couple days, because I told you that I would on last episode. So here goes. On January the 11th in 1878, that's 1878, in New York, milk was delivered in glass bottles for the first time by Alexander Campbell. And on January the 11th, in 1963, the Whiskey A Go-Go nightclub opened in Los Angeles. It is recognized as the first disco in the United States. Yeah, what do you know about that? Not much. In 1979, on January 11th, Dorothy Hamill won her third consecutive National Figure Skating Championship. Well, good golly, Miss Molly. In we're going way back now, 1700s. On January the 11th, in 1755, Alexander Hamilton, first U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, was born. Happy birthday. A birth that took place in 1755. Yowza sauce. I have another 1700 for you that happened on January the 12th. On January 12th, 1773, the first public museum in America was established in Charleston, South Carolina. At least that's what I think SC stands for. Charleston, SC, South Carolina. Here we go forward in time a little bit. On January 12th, 1971, All in the Family debuted on CBS. What does CBS stand for? The Corporation for Broadcasting, Corporate Cable Broadcasting System? I don't know. You tell me. Let me know. But did you know that Mark McGwire's 70th home run ball was sold at auction in New York for $3 million to an anonymous bidder? And not too long ago, that happened on January 12th, 1999. That was right before, the year before the big Y2K, when everyone was going to burn and die, and we were not going to be here to do the radio in 2014. It was not going to happen. That's 15 years ago, babe. It was not going to even exist. There wasn't even going to be a planet. The 2000 switch was supposed to turn and burn everything. But here we are. Joe Frazier, who is a professional boxer, was born on January 12th in 1944. Now, I'm supposed to tell you, I'm supposed to encourage you to let things happen naturally, is what I have here on my desk. I'm not going to read it, but I will tell you this about letting things happen naturally. I'm going to try to be brief, although sometimes that's impossible for me to do. Let things happen naturally. The first thing I thought of was relationship. Some people go into a relationship and they know exactly what they want. So therefore, you're being interviewed for the position. Like, here's the position. Wife material, good with kids, good in bed, whatever the case may be. I don't know what the case may be. I just know for some people it's different things than for others. So, let it happen naturally. Because don't forget, like I mentioned last episode, everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has something to tell you that you can learn from, no matter who it is. Even the most mentally incompetent person can teach you something. Even the person that you think you have the least in common with can teach you something and you can grow from that experience. So don't burn any bridges. And the one thing I say the most, and there's a couple rules of thumb. One is you and I have a relationship, whether we're friends, enemies, whether we barely know each other. When what I tell people is when you go to the grocery store and you check out, you have a relationship with the clerk at the register. Now, it doesn't mean that you are sleeping with that person. It doesn't mean you're married to that person or dating that person, whatever. It just means that you have a store, customer, employee relationship. When you go to work, you have a employee supervisor relationship with your supervisor. A relationship means you know a person or you know of a person and you have exchanged a glance, a word. The lowest profile relationship is probably someone you might recognize because you've seen him more than once, him or her, and you know what that person looks like. You assume that person knows what you look like. If they saw you in that same environment again, then they would recognize you again. It would be common for you to be seen by that person in that environment. That is the relationship you have. That is technically what you would call a acquaintance. You know what I'm saying? Someone that you don't know, but you know of. And that is a form of a relationship. And the highest profile relationship, at least in my world, would be my future wife, whoever that poor soul may be, and my children. That's the highest profile relationship. What you do in between, they're all relationships. You have a relationship with anybody who you've ever interacted with on any level, period. That's rule of thumb number one. So don't get it twisted. Ain't nobody got time for that. Don't get it twisted, you heard? And the other rule of thumb is, I don't even remember, but I'll let things happen naturally. Here's the rule of thumb, and probably the most important one, and I preach this over and over and over. Don't let your agenda become more important than me as a human being. Don't come into relationship so set on finding what it is that you want to find that you diminish who I am as a human being and you cut off me being able to express myself for who I am. And when you meet someone for the first time, whether it be like on a date or maybe you already really like the person, you're going to meet them in person, you've communicated with them online or on the phone or whatever the case is, stop thinking about what you want that person to be for you, and it's all about what I want and my agenda, and this person better perform on this level and blah, 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 because if not, I'm going to be so brokenhearted. That is a very selfish way to look at another human life. Approach the situation with excitement, being able to know someone who's new, fresh, has a brand new story to tell. You can make fun of me if you want, but it's the truth. If you focus on what you want, you're not going to get to know the person. Or the person and you will start this relationship, but you or that other person or both will not truly be yourself. Because when it all started, it was all about what that person can do. What do you do for work? How are you around kids? You know, how do you handle your money? Blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, a lot of the questions are based on how do you perform and how will you affect my life? And the question should be in a new relationship, in a new partnership, in a new courtship, and even a marriage is, who are you as a human being? What do you feel about this? What makes you sad? What makes you happy? What makes you smile? What makes you frown? Think about it, dog meat. Yesterday I asked you the question, in 1990, this famous tagline, his story will touch you, even though he can't. What movie is that from? That is from one of my favorite movies, Edward Scissorhands, starring Johnny Depp, J. Boggerdepper. And here's another one, sci-fi movie tagline, just for you to enjoy. Oh, boy. 2011, very good movie. I'd never actually watched the whole thing and paid attention to it. What I mean is very good movie as far as blockbuster sales and big deality. Everybody was all up in this movie. 2011, what movie had the tagline, a tagline in it that you might recognize that said this? evolution becomes revolution. Do you know the answer? I'm not telling you, because you got to be here next time. I promised last episode that I would tell the story of what's been going on with me and why I've been such a bad boy and have been in the studio. Where do I begin? I guess when I do an episode of this, even though I know about 4 or 5 people actually listen to it, it still is interesting to me to be at the top of my game. And I've noticed lately that I try to be funny, even though some things are not funny, and I'm not always a funny person. Some of my interactions with people are very serious, full of heart, if you will, whatever. So I guess you could say I definitely didn't want to bring some negative aura into the studio and record that, but that could have been the best case scenario as far as keeping it real, so to speak. But anyways, Monday and Tuesday, I didn't say anything, and I did do episodes on Monday and Tuesday. When we had this enormous freeze out, not only was it sub-zero temperatures and I was having a lot of physical problems, which I blame on the weather, I was also at that time having pain in my groin. And I remember seeing Todd, I think it was Tuesday, and I was in a lot of pain, but I was afraid to say anything because I was really hoping it would pass. And I'm ashamed to admit that most of all, what was going on in the back of my mind was, this is probably a hernia, and I hope it goes away, meaning whatever's happened. I hope my body can just deal with the pain, because if I can manage through an active hernia, so to speak, then I'll be fine, right? And I felt ashamed. You know, Todd and I are pretty honest back and forth, but this is the one thing that I wasn't quite ready to come forth with yet, like I am right now officially. But I thought, we'll see what happens. Don't worry until there's something to worry about. I could have mentioned the pain and everything, but I just didn't want to hear a laundry list of, well, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this. And that was not just Todd, it was anybody. I didn't mention it to anybody and I talked to many people all day, and no one knew. You know, I was being secretive, and I shouldn't, because, well, I'll tell you why. Because I went to work Wednesday, and I was in just the same amount of pain, which is starting to get a little more concerning because it was the 3rd day, right? What in the world is causing pain in my groin? It cannot be good. I started talking to a couple guys at work, and they started to really scare me, telling me about my testicles probably turning and twisting, which is a definite emergency, or I could have a hernia, and they were trying to explain how a hernia works, and if you do one little thing, you can make it so much worse. And they said if you don't get it taken care of, you will be one day doubled over in pain, and you'll be in big trouble. Like, okay, great. I'm in trouble already, because this is becoming something I can no longer deny. The reason I told the folks at work is because the folks at work, most of them, they don't know me personally outside of work, so we can talk. It's a place to put everything on the table, get some advice from people who, it's kind of like getting some third-party advice. They're unbiased people. They don't have anything in their personal lives that interact with me that's going to influence what they say. So it's kind of like calling, it's kind of like a doctor. You would say some things to a doctor to get their professional advice to come back, that they would come back with their professional advice, because you know that they don't know you personally. You're getting the information. You're showing the respect. You're my doctor. I'm your patient. Tell me what's going on. And it's not that you're more open in general. It's just that that's the first person you come to get some advice, to figure out how you might approach telling your family and your friends, look, I have a problem, or I have an addiction, or I'm getting married, or I'm having a child. Whatever the case may be, you might be tempted to tell someone you have a relationship with, but it's not a personal relationship with, just to kind of practice how you might approach telling your family and your friends. I'm using that as my excuse. Okay, that's my defense, Your Honor. I don't know if you'll buy it or not, but that is my answer in my case. But the guys at work were scaring me a lot. They were saying, dude, I can't believe you even came to work today. What a moronosaurus. You need to go home and go to you need to get into the doctor immediately. It's like, okay. So I don't even know how I slept that night because I was in pain physically. I was stressed, worried. I was assuming the worst. I was praying, dear Lord, keep me through the night. I was whining and crying. And I just remember being really depressed and ashamed that I didn't, I guess, take it head on Monday. And it kind of surfaced in my mind that I had experienced discomfort in my groin over the years and kind of let it go, thinking if it passes, it passes. You grow, your body changes, and I just might have growing pains, so to speak, or whatever. When it came to that particular thing, I've never been exactly proactive. But I have gotten physicals, full body physicals over the year, and I've been given a clean bill of health. I've been examined down there, and no doctor's ever said, wow, I see a hernia or whatever. And I've even told the doctor that I've had discomforts at certain times. So over the years, it became out of sight, out of mind, because any pain I've had there was so short-lived, or any discomfort or sensitivity, whatever. So I thought, okay, well, they're right. I guess I'll sleep on it, and hopefully, because I know sleep heals a lot of things, and I was still in denial, saying maybe I can avoid it, and maybe it'll go away. I think that's a game we play whenever we don't want to find out what the doctor has to say. We pretend, we'll push it another day, pretending that it's not something we have to deal with. It's a classic procrastination that I did, and I'll be the first one to admit. So that happened. I went to sleep Wednesday night, woke up Thursday morning, still in the same amount of pain. Just getting up out of bed, the pressure in the groin muscle, just getting up out of bed was scary. The first thing I did was go online. I took all the money that came out of my paycheck and put it onto a debit card so I can use it for anything that might come my way that day, because I figured whatever this is, I just want to deal with it. It was a very humbling experience because you can't run anymore. You just got to go for it. See what happens, take the chance, whatever. And for someone like me who's never experienced a surgery, I never even had a broken bone in my life, and I'm close to 30 now. So for me, it was like, what do I do? And it was also humbling because the chase was over. It was no longer in the back of my mind that it'll go away. Because my fear was that I had a hernia, which I didn't. So we'll find out here in a second what I'm talking about. I called the hospital and said, could you please recommend a specialist for my problem that I could see today? They gave me 3 doctors' telephone numbers. I think they all came down to just general family practice, whatever, because they didn't say, they basically said, I have no idea who our specialist in the area is, but here are 3 doctors that can definitely help you out. I called all 3 of them. They said a combination of things. They said, 1, we can't even get you in until February. They also said, they said, all 3 of them said this: just in case you have a hernia, which it sounds like that's a very good possibility, you need to go to the ER now. So I'm getting kind of scared, but at the same time, I'm relieved. I was kind of excited to figure out, what is this? How do we get rid of it? Blah, blah, blah. And I didn't call my mom. I didn't call my dad. I didn't call my brothers and sisters because I don't feel like those folks are very involved in my life. Period. Especially my brother and sister. They don't know me. They're family, but they're not friends of mine because I don't know those people. I don't know any of them. I know my dad more than anybody, and I know my mom this year and last year more than I ever have. But her and I are not at the emergency contact person level in our relationship. We're at the, learning about each other all over again. That's how I feel about it. So it is what it is. I don't want to get sidetracked too much. So I went in there. One friend from work knew about it because I had to call her and ask her for advice on how to go about coverage, medical leave coverage at work. And I may not even tell that story in detail because it would take way too long. So I went to the ER. I said, I need to speak to the doctor. I have pain in my groin. I got registered, got the little fancy bracelet on the arm. They had me pee in a cup. Eventually some lady came in with some other lady nurse, pulled the curtain, said, drop your pants, sailor, we're going in. Shoved her fingers up my groin in so many ways. It was very painful. And she said, well, I don't feel a hernia. And I thought, well, that could be bad or good, right? It could be good because who knows what it is. It could be bad because who knows what it is. Not that she couldn't feel a hernia. That's a good thing. She said, let's give you an ultrasound. So here I am. I'm pregnant. I'm a female and I'm pregnant now, getting an ultrasound. That's great. So I get an ultrasound on the area, on my testicles and my groin, and the question was by some of the people who found out, was I uncomfortable? And the answer is no. I'm not uncomfortable around doctors or being naked, exposed in my private parts, because what I'm uncomfortable with is having a hernia. What I'm uncomfortable with would be having testicular cancer. What would be uncomfortable is having a contusion or whatever it is where the whole testicle is twisting. I still don't know how that works. I'll probably look it up out of curiosity eventually. Am I uncomfortable to have it figured out and taken care of? No, that's what I want. It was a huge relief. I would have went through a lot more to get properly taken care of. So I'm sitting there talking, we're having a conversation, the ultrasound doctor and myself, and I'm getting examined. She's got a wand on my no-no parts, and she's taking photographs or pictures rather, and she said the same thing. She said, I don't see a hernia. And I said, well, I don't even know how to feel about that. I'm relieved one second, and then I'm very scared the next because I'm a little wimp. I've never been through anything like this before, so I've never had kids. I've never had, I haven't even, my parents are still alive. So I really haven't experienced too much as far as emergencies go or scary medical life-threatening stuff or anything, And she said, time will tell. So I go back in the room. They made me go to and from the ultrasound in a wheelchair. In case it was a hernia, I guess. They didn't want me walking. I don't know if that was to make a couple more dollars or what. So I go back into the room. 2 hours passes by. I just start to fall asleep because I'm just laying there. I started texting on my phone. Please, I was waiting on the radiology. I don't know what it means, but they were going to do some other look at me to see what another machine could pick up, another test or another exam, if you will. So I'm looking at the clock. I'm panicking. I'm not going to make it to work. They kept me there for like 5-6 hours, something like that. So I'm just laying there relaxing. Eventually the doctor came in and said, you have an infection in your baby maker that we found in some of the ultrasound images and in your urine test. When we tested your urine and looked at everything, she said, you don't have chlamydia or anything like that, so you're lucky in that area. We tested you for everything we possibly could out of your urine, and we looked for anything we could in your ultrasound, and we found an infection in your epididymis, which is it's basically like getting strep throat in your private area. in your reproductive tract is the way I would choose to describe it on the radio on this show. Some folks have heard me describe it a different way, but here in the beautiful world of who knows who's listening, we'll just say this. It's basically like getting strep throat, but not in your throat, okay? So a huge relief. I was texting people, celebrating. The couple people who knew what was going on that day, which was like Ashley, the lady from work, I think Austin from work, because he had the heads up to tell people I wasn't going to be there today. I said, you know, it was most likely one of four things. It was an infection, it was a contortion, or whatever, where the whole testicle is twisting somehow, and I guess they responded that surgically. It could have been a hernia, or very worst case scenario, it could have been testicular cancer. So it's bad, very, very bad, or the worst. Bad's an infection, very bad is a contortion, very, very bad is a hernia, and the worst is cancer. Nut cancer. And I didn't want cancer, nut cancer, okay? Although I will say this, if I had to have any kind of cancer, I would probably opt for nut cancer, because I think that's something that's more manageable than the rest. Because that's more like, what do they say, malignant or whatever? It's like a lump cancer that they can get a hold of and remove, rather than one of these cancers that spreads and goes crazy and a barrel full of monkeys in your body. Okay. So I was very relieved. Very relieved. So I think that's the end of the story. It took me over an hour to get some medicine. They told me to take some anti-inflammatories, some painkillers, and some antibiotics to attack the infection. And I'm like, Doc, shoot me straight here. Am I going to be able to have kids? Oh, yeah, you're fine. Now, am I going to be able to recognize myself when I look down there and, I'm reacquainting myself with Jimmy and his brothers? And she said, yeah, everything's going to be fine. Trust me. So, I mean, do I have like an ongoing transmittable disease that I can spread to like my wife or something like that? She said, absolutely not. It works like the strep throat does. It gets taken care of. Bada bing, bada boom. The only way to get it, the only way to get it again would be the same contact with the bacteria. So that's how you get strep throat. Like you get contact with some bacteria. I guess it's more easy to do than people realize. Believe it or not, I'm not the only man or girl that's come into contact with some bacteria that jacked them up. So I didn't want to come into the studio for a couple reasons. I wasn't sure how to tell the story, or even if I even should. But in the interest of historical documentation this year in 2014, I thought I would document it on the record right here on LWDR, DouglasCrabtree.com. And I thought, I've told some folks, so why not tell everybody? Number one. And I want your love and support and your get well cards, and I want your balloons, and I want you to come and make me soup and wash my hair in the sink and help me out. Actually, I'm feeling 100% better. I was never bad in the sense of pain. The only time I was in a lot of pain was when the doctor was trying to murder my testicles with her fingers and shoving her body weight into my body, trying to, quote, feel for a hernia. That's when I was in pain. And they asked me all day at the emergency room, what level. Why do they have to ask things 100 times? I have no idea. I literally got my vitals twice. I almost gave a urine sample twice. I'm like, I already gave one. But anyways, they asked me several times, what's your level of pain between 1 and 10? 10 being the worst unimaginable pain you could ever feel, and 1 being no pain at all. I said, isn't 0 no pain at all? The fact that it would jump to 1, doesn't that mean there's some kind of sensitivity? But anyways, I'm probably at pain level number 2. Dos. And they're like, well, that's pretty good. I said, well, listen, I felt like a weenie coming into the ER. but I didn't feel like I had a choice because 3 physicians on the phone this morning told me, don't come here and definitely don't wait for an appointment. You need to go get help right away. Not urgent care, but the emergency room, because they're going to have the machine guns you need when the firing happens. So, that happened. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and I just didn't want to do the show. It's bad enough to do the show when no one cares about it. And I have to remind myself why I come on the mic and why I record and why I make this recording public. And there for a minute, people were behind it and, wanted to get on the show and chat with me. And now it's a very lonely position that I'm in. And it also is time consuming. But I enjoy the show for the most part. I do listen to the old episodes. Myself and others, we chat on here. I like reading the historical things, and I think it's a fun time. So here I am. I'm back in the New York groove, and I am I'm alive and well. I feel great. I took my last painkiller yesterday night. So now I'm on antibiotics only. If my pain comes back, I'll probably schedule another appointment. Or should I say, I'll schedule an appointment at all. I'm supposed to do a follow-up thing, but I don't think I will. Because when the pain's gone, the antibiotics run out, and the infection should be gone too. Completely gone. I think the follow-up appointment is just to say, can we have some more money from you? And are you still okay? Okay, great. All right, here's a tissue, blow your nose, and go home. I don't need that follow-up appointment as far as I can tell, but then again, I also avoided getting any help in the first place, so who knows. But I'm back, okay? Sorry that I left you, the 4 people who listen. I apologize to each and every single 4 of you, and I love you, and thanks for the support, the kind words, the prayers, and I don't know. I guess we'll talk soon. Let me know about your groin pain stories. I try to finish the show with get involved type nuggets. I don't know if anyone ever listens to the end of the show or not, but I do. And I really am the Lone Ranger out here, I believe. So, anyways, let me know what you think. I want to hear your story. I want to chat with you right here on the show. The number to call is 614-559-3940. If you call me and I answer and we start chatting, you want to get on the show, just let me know. I will record it. Or if I don't answer, leave me a message, and most likely you will be right here. Also, please get on my site, douglascrabtree.com. Links in the sink, baby. And that website is kind of in stagnant water right now, but it's still there for a reason. Things are going to pick up. It's just I can't aggressively attack the projects and jumpstart them and bring them to life the way they should be. It is going to be a slow thing because I work, And not only do I work at home, I work at work also. So we'll talk soon right here on LWDR. Gotta go. Love you. Had a baby. It's a boy.